Hey everyone, so this is my review of Supergirl, Season 2, Episode 13, called Mr. and Mrs. Mxyzptlk. And basically what this episode is about is that a magical being known as Mr. Mxyzptlk arrives in National City and starts to wreak havoc on the city when Kara doesn't reciprocate his feelings. And this was a really great episode that I was so excited to see what they were going to do, and it was just so good. And I really liked it because Mxyzptlk is one of the few, Superman characters that I know and, know all about. So I was really curious to know what they were going to do with him, because you can't really kill him and you can't really trap him because of all the powers he has. So what they were going to do to, try and trick him or do all the stuff that they usually do in the comics, I wanted to see what they might do in the show, and it was just a lot of fun. And it was a little sad that they had Mxyzptlk in this episode and had all his powers that make him basically a god, and they barely showed him at all in this episode. They decided to go with a lot more plotting on a bunch of the other characters and stuff, and that made me a little disappointed because they could have done so much more than what they did do, just to mess with the city and do a bunch of stuff that need to be undone and just all that, but they didn't really do much of that, and that was a little disappointing. And it was a little weird and kind of annoying how Mon-El apparently had all this knowledge about fourth dimensional beings and stuff and how to get rid of them, but he didn't really care to share any of that with Kara. So then basically the only information that Kara got was that slipped out when he was just commenting on stuff for all that. But he didn't care to share any of that, and that was a little annoying. Because he could have been there to actually help instead of trying to do it all by himself by going and doing stuff where he's giving this information about the fact that you can send a fourth dimensional being away by having them say their name backwards and stuff like that. He could have said that to Kara, and that way he could have been helping her instead of making her more angry because he's not listening to her and he's also trying to do stuff behind her back. And just all of that, it just easily could have been fixed, but for some reason it wasn't, and that was just really kind of annoying. But with that, it was a lot of fun to see all the fight scenes between Mon-El and Mxyzptlk, where they're going and having all this stuff very stylized, if Mr. Mxyzptlk was in charge of it, and just having it be a lot of fun, but also still being a fight, where the main sort of one was where they had just the basic 1700s duel where you walk 10 paces and shoot and stuff like that. Just all that was really fun. It did get a little annoying with how many times they brought up in this episode that it was Valentine's Day, because I felt like they maybe only needed 2 or 3 times at the most, but they just kept bringing it up that, oh, today's Valentine's Day, yay, today's Valentine's Day. And that just got really kind of annoying. And I did really kind of find the scenes with Maggie and Alex interesting. I did like it for the fact that they did sort of go a bit more into Maggie's backstory and all that. And I did like that it ended with this whole sort of lesson of being there for the person you're in the relationship with and understanding what they like and might want to do and be willing to try and do some of that even though you might not like it, because you might find some part of it that you do like. And all that was really cool that they did sort of have in there for the Maggie and Alex relationship in this episode. Then the ending of this episode was really fun with all the different things that Kara did to eventually trick Mxyzptlk. And it was just fun with her, doing all the different stuff that Mxyzptlk can't stop her from doing because it's, against the rules and stuff. And that eventually led up to, the final big trick that she did to get him to go away. And just all that was a lot of fun. And just overall, this was a really great and really fun episode. And I just can't wait to see what the next one will bring based on what the preview showed. So, yeah, that's my review of Supergirl, Season 2, Episode 13, called Mr. and Mrs. Mxyzptlk. So, yeah. Bye!